сейчас я дописываю автобиографическую книжку. История семьи начинается, когда прабабушку расстреливают колчаковцы в Чехии.
Great vision and style in this piece. There was just really nice movement in the pacing, the shots, and the angles. It felt just incredibly cool, for lack of a better word. Just cool and effortless, which really matched the groove underneath and almost this like jazz, like creative, um, spur of the moment way that he lived, and spur of the moment creating and relaying of a story that felt very authentic. There's this great sense of rebellion to the filmmaking that paralleled his story, his marked difference right from the beginning in kind of challenging society by just existing and being himself and doing things in his own way. It was just a truly captivating life, and I loved being guided on all of the twists and the turns we explored, and I had no idea where we were going next, which is my kind of entertainment.
I thought Happy was an interesting documentary that explored a sense of identity and sort of history and the impact of all of those different elements of identity for a person in time and space. And I thought that was an interesting thing that it managed to do.
I really enjoyed the relaxed pace of the film. We follow along with him and his adventures as a child, as a young man, and currently. Lots of photographs of himself and his mom and dad who ended up apart. Interesting footage of his wandering in Russian streets and meeting lots of people, including artists, that he has known over the years. He spends a lot of time considering the diverse heritage of his parents and is now writing a no doubt fascinating autobiography. The footage of his adventures in Africa were also very interesting. He makes very articulate points about philosophy and poverty, notably in Africa, versus the fact that in Russia, most people have at least basic necessities of life, like clean water and electricity. Lots of great camera work of his warm expressions and those of the people he meets. Excellent bird's eye view of his life. Well done.
Happy was a very interesting look into one man's culture and identity. It's I feel like it's very interesting to watch this because it forces you to ask a question that he had to answer himself, which is basically what makes you who you are? Your blood or your birthplace? That, in the sense of, you may have originally been, like, your heritage may come from a different land, but you've been born and raised in a new land, so what is your true identity? In the sense that his father was African, but he was born in Russia, and so in a way to return to his roots, he went to Africa only to find that he did not share the same values. In fact, he shared a lot of Russian values, which I feel a lot of people can relate to, especially anyone who was born in America. You may have a different nationality outside of the States, but should you ever visit there, you immediately get that culture shock where you realize you have a very American idealized culture. So just like him, it forces the question of, well, you may have the blood from another heritage, where you're from, where you were born, plays a large impact into who you are. And yeah, those are very interesting things to ponder.
What a really interesting movie. I've never seen anything like this before. First of all, it's really interesting to go inside Russia and just see a common life, because as Americans, we don't see that very often. We see it depicted in films, and most often it's spy movies or something like that, so it's really nice to see real life inside of Russia. And then, also Happy is such an interesting guy, and it's really, really interesting to see, a mixed race, black man living his life in Russia and with his friends. And it was he has a very interesting journey as a becoming a musician, and going to Africa and things like that. And there's so many interesting things that he's done. And I really liked something he said. It gave me a lot of perspective when he was talking about Africa versus living in Russia. And he says we have water and electricity here every day. In Africa, 170 million people don't have water. And he says we complain about our pearls being so small, something to that effect, So it's interesting, it's a really interesting perspective that he gave me today in watching this. It's like, hey, if you've got pearls in your hands, just treasure them. It doesn't matter how big they are, having the necessities is enough. Really good lesson. I really liked the very, very end when he's playing and singing, and he says, I'm not really a guitarist anymore, and his friend says, shut the hell up. That was a really funny ending. I liked it. And it just kind of, it was a kind of a nice marker of showing his relationships with his friends that we saw throughout the film, and just how good and funny and awesome friends they were. So really interesting movie. I hope it gets out there. A lot of interesting perspectives, a lot of great pearls from this piece. So good luck with it.
I think this documentary was just so, interesting and eye-opening. And I think the main subject is just someone that, you can really learn a lot from. I thought it was so interesting to learn his backstory. And I really love that you guys, included all the film and footage of him in Africa. And I don't know, I was just so interested in what he had to say. And I loved seeing him interact with the people that he, grew up with and met throughout his life. And I just thought it was a really, interesting film that I think a lot of people can learn from. So great job.
Happy was a really interesting story. It was the story of this Russian man and, how he grew up. He had emigrated there with his family from Africa, and it just kind of showed, what it was like growing up in Russia. He comes in it was very cinematic for a documentary. He came in contact with a bunch of strangers along the streets, and you could feel this kind of camaraderie within the community, which was really, really nice to see. It was a great story about this man and his life growing up in the community, and was almost like a little love letter to his life and the people around him that he has met along the way and continues to meet. So it was a really nice piece. It made me very happy.